But, my king, don't demand this of me. Why me, of all people?
You are one of my best gem cutters, and I promise to support him. It should be a fair contest. Or should I break my word just because of you?
But...
You will go, Goimgar Shimmerbeard. Do not put us to shame. Follow Tungdil's instructions. Go! And come back in good health.
And with that, our group is complete.
Who have you chosen as Mason?
Good day, gentlemen.
Bavragar? The old drunkard?
Old drunkard? He assured me he's the best stonemason here. The High King himself sent him.
Well, I said I was precisely the stonemason you need. I didn't exactly say I was sent by the High King.
You let yourself be tricked by a drunkard.
I don't want him with us.
Rest assured, Boindil, I too could imagine better company. But Tungdil gave me his word.
Yes, I gave you my word. And as long as you are capable of doing the stonework needed for Keenfire, you are welcome. Girdlegard is at stake here.
I wish you no ill fortune, Tungdil, but also no good fortune. The throne belongs to me, and through my victory, Vracus will show the clans.
The task is clear to the contenders? The first to forge Keenfire and bring it back here has proven his abilities and will be our new High King to lead us in battle against Nod-On.
It will take months to complete the task. The journey to the Fiflings alone is a long and dangerous business.
Dangerous, yes, but not necessarily long. Do you know the old tunnel system that connects the Dwarven kingdoms?
Tunnels are all well and good, but why should we get there so much quicker under the ground than over it?
A knowing smile plays on the mouth of the advisor.
Well...
Pretty impressive what our forefathers achieved here, isn't it?
The kingdoms all work together. If we do the same, nothing is impossible.
Hear, hear.
I still don't understand why you tricked me and why you were so set on coming with us.
I have been the Master of Stone for more than 200 sun cycles. My work is admired all over Girdlegard. There has never been a better secondling mason than me. But today, I don't want to be remembered as a drunkard with the chisel trembling in my hand, but as Bavragor Amethyst, undefeated Master of Stone who brought Keenfire to life. One last masterpiece.
I hope you understand me asking, but there seems to be bad blood between you and Boindil.
It's nothing that will endanger our mission. We've just always hated each other.
There's more behind it than commonplace hatred.
Bavragor doesn't react. His gaze is directed towards events that took place a long time ago.
You really should rein in your drinking. We need you in good shape.
There are some who say I'm only the master of beer and not the master of stone anymore. But don't worry, I haven't forgotten. I can't forget, no matter how much I drink. I wonder why we haven't seen any sign of Gandagar recently. Perhaps they took a wrong turn somewhere. I'm sure we'll reach the Fifling Kingdom before them.
We're not on the way to the Fiflings. We are on the way to the Firstlings. We're probably already under the land of the Custodian.
The Firstlings? Why?
The Firstlings have been the best smiths in Girdlegard since the Fiflings were wiped out. Only they can alloy Teonium and Palladium, which are actually mutually repellent. Anyway, We could use all the help we can get in the battle against Nodon, and... Damn. Goimgar!
It burns!
We won't get further this way, Scholar. What now?
It's all your fault, you imposter. I was nearly killed, and for what?
It is good that you are still alive. We need you for our mission.
So you can steal a throne that doesn't belong to you?
Hatred glints in the gem cutter's eyes, and for a moment you think he's going to attack you with the courage of desperation.
I'm not interested in the title of High King. I am trying to save Girdlegard. Even if you don't believe anything else, you must believe this.
I don't have to believe anything. I am here against my will. My own thoughts are my only remaining right.
Enough! Gather up all the materials we can still save. If we manage to reach the Firstlings, we can get anything we're missing there. And it should be less than 200 miles to their stronghold.
After you have gathered together the materials, you begin to search for a way out. And after a sweaty climb, you reach a door adorned with runes. From here, you enter a large cave with a waterfall covering a sun-drenched opening. You walk through the waterfall one after another, and after the unintentional shower, you find yourselves in Wayan, near the enchanted realm of Oramira. You find yourselves on a plateau, and the river which falls as a waterfall here hides the entrance to the underground rail network. It then flows past a forest, behind which you can see a wall and tiled roofs. You check the map.
That must be Mifidania. We'll go through the forest to the city and see if we can refresh our supplies and buy some ponies.
Boindil strikes up song during your hike. A short while later, Bavrigor joins in. But rather than actually singing along, he tries to outdo Boindil with his own songs. When he finally strikes up a love song, Boindil becomes absolutely livid. You take the stonemason to one side and ask him if he's doing it on purpose.
Of course I'm doing it on purpose. I'm gonna make him suffer the whole journey.
It can't go on like this. We can't fight amongst ourselves and save Girdlegard.
You take a short break before you dare breach the roots of the problem.
It's to do with a woman, right?
Not in the way you might think. Smeralda was my sister, a young thing of only 40 cycles.
Bavrigor takes a large swig of his liquor before he continues.
She was almost as belligerent as Boindil, and she got it into her blockhead to stand by him in battle. A bad decision.
You can see the pain he is suffering in his eyes. You place a hand on his shoulder and put him under no pressure to carry on. The constant bickering between Boindil and Bavrigor distracts you. Goimgar hears the clanking of armor first.
Something's coming!
Before you know it, the orcs are charging towards you over a hillside.
Ah, that was refreshing. Hey, here comes some more. 3, 4, 5 or 6.
5 or 6? Oh, phew! He means 5 or 600.
Goimgar turns white as a sheet.
That's too many. To the city. Come on!
You flee towards Mifidania, with Goimgar out ahead. The orcs at his back seem to have mobilized unimagined powers in him, and he reaches the gate first, hammering manically against it. He says something and scurries through a small gateway that has been opened to him. Moments later, you also reach the gate.
Get in, quickly!
You push your way through the gate as the first orc arrows slam into the wood next to you.
The other dwarf said we should bolt the gate behind him, but we could use all the help we can get when the orcs come.
That treacherous sissy, where is he?
Boindal and I will look for him. Boindil and Bavrigor, help the city guards in any way you can.
You were certain the two of them wouldn't be much help in the search for Goimgar.
The fabulous Rodario.
Cometh, dear spectators, cometh and see! Let the Theatre Curiosum, with its star actor, the fabulous Rodario, the mysterious Nomora, and the genius Magister Technicus, Fergus, carry you off to another world. Now see and hear, dear spectators, the truth about Nudin the Knowledge Lusty, who disposed of the other Magi in a most horrifying way and plunged Girdlegard into disaster. Girdlegard, it will be mine.
Not Yonan?
Before you know it, you are overcome with hatred for those who destroyed your home and killed your loved ones.
By Fracas, I'm going to kill you!
You might try to. And I will take great pleasure in your attempt. Who shall I pick out next, Who amongst your traveling companions means the most to you?
You don't want to take part in the Alf's game and keep your lips tightly sealed while you consider your means of escape.
When you murdered Frala and the others...
To your horror, you realize that you can no longer talk. You feel a lump in your throat and your eyes begin to burn as images of the vaults and Cyntharas appear in front of you.
I see that my first strike really hit you, groundling. Oh, how they screamed. If only you had been there to help them.
This way!
Was that an elf?
If we're quick, we'll get that long ear yet!
Alarm! Alarm! The orcs are attacking!
Come, we must defend the walls! Very good, we're able to stop them. Cyntharas.
You wish it weren't so. But it is clear to you now that the city can no longer be saved.
To the side gate, it's our only chance. It's locked. We have to open it somehow.
Perhaps we can be of service, gentlemen.
Step aside.
Are you thieves?
Certainly not. We are artists. People with extraordinary talents. Say, friends, as you clearly mean to leave Mifadania too, would you have anything against us joining you?
The fabulous Rodario.
Oh, an admirer of my skills? Who would have thought it? I am indeed the one and only fabulous Rodario. This worthy gentleman here is Fergus, the best Magister Technicus since human thought. And last but not least, the enchanting Nomora, whose beauty makes the mayor's roses wither in envy. Perhaps we should discuss the rest when we are out of this mess.
We have a long and dangerous journey ahead of us. I don't think you really want to join us.
An epic and dangerous journey? That sounds like an adventure. And anyway, I have already seen that you know how to handle those weapons of yours. In these dangerous times, a big travel group offers the best protection, don't you think?
I don't know,
The orcs are still surging through the gate and over the wall. You decide that this isn't the right time for discussions.
All right then, let's go.
Let's get out of here. We'll be safe with the firstlings.
The firstlings. The splendor of their halls is said to be unrivaled, and I have heard they have fascinating contraptions, Fergus, that are almost reminiscent of magic.
It's open, let's go.
In the evening, after your escape from Mifadania, you recover from your exertions around a campfire. Goimgar withdraws to a solitary corner. Bavragor devotes himself to his alcohol, and the twins get their smelly dwarf cheese out. Nomora and Fergus exchange hugs and kisses on the other side of the fire, while Rodario sits next to you.
Ah, a journey with real dwarves to the stronghold of the firstlings. I'm sure I can write that into my new piece.
We're far enough away from Mithridania. Perhaps we should part ways tomorrow morning.
Rodario jumps up and begins to gesticulate ostentatiously.
I think you have underestimated us. Let me introduce myself and my colleagues once more. I am the Fabulous.
We don't have time to look after a pack of jesters.
Rodario seems offended for a moment, but then he grins, turns away from the group and raises his right arm. A jet of flame shoots out of his sleeve. The dwarves are startled and amazed by the brief spectacle.
And what do you say now, critical Mr. Dwarf?
You're a magus. I don't particularly like them either.
At the Curiosum, magic is my area of responsibility. There is a tube under his arm with a flint and a bag full of Lycopediella seeds. When he firmly presses the bag, the flint sprays sparks and the seeds shoot out. And there you have it. Magic fire.
Masterly work, Fergus.
The Magister Technicus shows his appreciation with a nod of his head.
If they all have tricks like this up their sleeves, well, they might not be such a burden after all, Tungdil.
I must congratulate you on your skills. I find it hard to believe that it's not achieved by magic.
Aha, thank you, but I assure you it has nothing to do with magic. Just alchemy and accomplished acting. We leave the sorcery to the Magi.
Don't mention them. There's no love lost on Andakai and her walking iron tower.
You've met Andokai the Tempestuous? That is unbelievable. How was she?
She ran away to the Outer Lands. A damn disgrace.
Adakai had her reasons to leave us. She had already fought against Nodon and was unsuccessful. Furthermore, we wouldn't be here without her, and she told us about Keenfire.
Andokai, the bringer of hope. I like that. I'll have to use that in my new piece.
True to his words, Rodario takes out his notebook and writes something down.
Do you know anything about the Firstlings? If I recall the map correctly, we need to cross the first large mountains in the Red Range and then pass through Snowdale to East Ironhald Stronghold.
No one has seen the Firstlings for hundreds of cycles, but there are many stories about them. Their craftsmanship is much vaunted, and there used to be trade via a narrow path that led into the mountains, but I don't think there is a man living now who has ever walked that road.
How are you doing for provisions? We don't have enough.
We are happy to share what we have. It isn't very much, though. We had to leave most of it behind.
Food is sure to be a problem on our journey. Winter's only just beginning to leave Wayan, and people will be keeping a tight grip on the stocks they do have because of the orc attacks.
We have to be frugal and organize as much food as we can. It wouldn't be much of a heroic story if we starved on the way to the Firstlings.
Our mission is to forge the legendary axe Keenfire and destroy the traitor Nodon. If you wish to accompany us through hunger, coldness, and danger, then do so. It's your decision.
How could we not partake in such a story? Just think what a wonderful play we could make of it.
If we survive. I was hoping to only resurface once we reach the Red Range. Instead, we have a long journey and a dangerous climb ahead of us.
There may be another way apart from the old trading route. A few years ago, an old man from the north told me of a place called Wackenstein. Apparently, there is an old path there, older than the dwarven tunnels themselves.
Legends and stories. There's too much uncertainty. Let's just see what the next few days bring.
You are walking past an inconspicuous copse as Nomura suddenly stops on the spot.
Wait! We are not alone. Someone is watching us.
A trap?
Die, scum!
What are you doing? Why are you attacking us? We're dwarves too. We're on the same side.
I see honest dwarves here, but they are accompanied by scum. I will free you of it!
Oh, really? And what are you going to do on your own against 8?
You, come here.
What? Ugh!
Brother! What are you doing?
Boindle, what's wrong? Come to your senses!
It's no use. They belong to me. Now die, scum.
No sooner does the unknown dwarf fall unconscious to the floor than her control over your comrades disappears. You fetter and gag her until you know more about her sinister powers.
That was, I hope I didn't hurt you, Scholar.
It was as if in a dream, but at the same time, it wasn't. I heard her voice in my head, and although I knew better, I only saw orcs attacking me. You were the enemy.
Boindil goes over to the shackled dwarf and kicks her gently with his boot.
This is never a child of the smith, even if she looks like one. Those gifts. By Fracas, there is something evil at work.
You kneel in front of the dwarf and press your axe against her throat.
My name is Tungdil. If I remove your gag, will you answer some questions?
The captive nods, and you pull the gag out of her mouth.
Geralda is my name. It would seem I underestimated you.
Your powers, I've never heard of anything like it.
Neither have I. I haven't had them for long. When I try to remember, all I see is black mist, and I taste iron and mud, and there's an elf who... Ugh.
Did the Alpha give you these powers?
When I try to remember, it hurts, like needles sticking into my head. I am Geralda Bloodstone. I was...
You said something about scum when you attacked us. Has Namora done anything to harm you?
Not her, but her kind. Alpha.
She is a human. She only acts at being an elf in theatre.
In the theatre?
For the first time, Geralda looks at Namora without a hateful expression.
She must die.
Where have you come from and what brings you to Wayan?
I was on my way to the Free Folk. They are said to live in the middle of Girdlegard, without kingdoms or their laws.
The Free Folk? You mean dwarves?
Yes, dwarfs who have left their kingdoms, voluntarily or otherwise. Not everyone has a place in their kingdom.
You instinctively think of your own plight. You are not a secondling, and won't be welcome among the fourthlings since you placed obstacles in their king's path.
Don't believe this nonsense, Scholar. The Free Folk are just a fairy tale that people tell themselves when they don't want to stick to the traditions. Just look what good it's done Geralda.
Geralda prepares to reply, but then she holds back.
Enough talk! She is dangerous, probably crazy. She attacked us, we should put an end to her.
It's what you call amnesia, memory loss, a tool often used in stage productions. We don't know what happened to her, and maybe she doesn't either. We can't just kill her.
She's too dangerous just to let go, so we'll take her with us. Remove the fetters.
You nip any objection in the bud and turn to Geralda.
Listen, I don't know what has happened to you, but we are dwarves and we shouldn't fight against one another. We could do with your help.
The female dwarf seems just as surprised by your decision as your companions.
Thank you. I would be happy to accompany you. I am Geralda Bloodstone, of the Fourthling Kingdom. I'm sorry that I attacked you. It was a misunderstanding.
You realize that your decision doesn't please everyone. Boindil and Namora seem particularly upset. But they hold back, and you continue on your way, a slightly gloomy mood hanging over the group. When you enter the pretty little village with its richly ornate houses and its temple to Palandial at its center, you can see an angry mob some distance away. The villagers are hassling a young woman, insulting her and pushing her to the ground. You push your way through the crowd of people and stand in the way of the villagers.
What's going on here?
A man dressed in richly decorated vestments looks you up and down.
Plenty will be with you, dwarf. It is none of your business, but this woman here is a thief. She and her henchmen have emptied the monastery's granary and were willing to abandon us to our fate.
That's a lie. We asked for help and these people turned us away. I came back to ask again.
What evidence do you have against this woman?
We found the granary broken into. Almost a third of our grain and a significant amount of supplies have gone. And all this just one day after she and her people were snooping around here.
That isn't proof. It could simply be coincidence. Anyway, why would a thief come back to the scene of a crime?
The priest eyes you in silence, while some of the villagers make it clear that dwarves should keep their noses out of their business.
Tell us what happened.
The villagers grumble, but the priest gives the woman a chance to defend herself.
My name is Tavia. I was forced to flee Tabayin with my family when the perished land began to spread. My husband, we had to leave him behind.
The horror in the woman's eyes gives you a good idea as to what became of her husband.
No one accepted us in the north. There are too many refugees and everyone is scared. Queen Wei has offered land in Wayan to anyone who will work hard for it. But what should we grow if no one will sell us grain? We offered a fair price, but Father Mallan...
She darts a scathing gaze at the priest.
He wanted double the amount.
The priest glances briefly at the angry villagers. Then he replies in a firm voice.
It was a hard winter. And with the increasing frequency of orc attacks, we must think of ourselves first and foremost. Even we cannot help everyone.
The bystanders mutter in agreement.
The accusations are serious, so let's get to the bottom of the matter to be completely sure.
We have no doubt that she did it.
The priest looks at the villagers standing around him, the lust for blood written in their faces.
On the other hand, before we do something we can't undo...
Dissatisfied murmuring grows, which the priest debates with mollifying gestures.
Search for your evidence. You there, lock this woman up in the guardhouse in the meantime.
The woman is taken into a squat building made of rough blocks of stone. The crowd slowly disbands. You enter the village's large storehouse. The ground floor of the two-story building is full of turnips, with large barrels and clay pots on the floor and on high shelves. Several villagers are carrying out stock-taking. They're being supervised by a weedy man who observes them with a grim expression and writes things on a wax tablet every now and then. Work is in full swing. The man with the wax tablet grumbles now and then in agreement when one of the peasants shouts out a number to him. It shouldn't take too much longer until they finish the inventory. There are sacks piled up on top of one another on the first floor. They are most likely filled with different kinds of grain and, judging by the omnipresent white dust, flour. You walk towards the only area in the storeroom where you can see the floorboards. You hesitate as your boots slip on the floor, as if you're walking on mud.
Tungdil?
The Magister Technicus carefully observes the roof beams above the empty corner. He grabs at a beam and crumbles something between his fingers. You can't make out what it is, so you copy him and feel damp, rotten wood. It's very easy to pull away small pieces.
What are you doing here?
The man with the wax tablet is standing on the stairs. He sounds half angry, half shocked.
No one is allowed in here.
The rain has gotten here. The roof and the floor are damp.
Those savages! It wasn't enough that they steal from us, they had to damage the roof too. That was probably where they got in.
The wood didn't start to rot yesterday, good man.
The steward's face turns bright red.
And you are the experts on such things, are you?
Assuming the roof here has been leaky for a long time, what would have happened to the grain in the sacks directly underneath? Wouldn't it have turned rotten?
The man wets his lips. His gaze darts around the room.
The roof was fine. I'll have it repaired. And now, get out of here!
The steward angrily blocks off all further attempts at talking to him, and even when you threaten him with Father Malin, it doesn't have the desired effect. The father trusts in him, he says, and he's always been a devout follower. The heavy door of the storehouse closes behind you, and you hear a bolt sliding into place from the inside. You enter the guardhouse, and before the guards know, Boindeel and Boendal have caught them up in a friendly conversation. Shielded from the view of the guards, you exchange a few words with the suspect without being disturbed.
Where have you taken the grain and supplies?
I don't know anything about grain or supplies. Apart from the fact that we could do with both, I'm telling you, I am innocent!
Why did you come back to the village?
I wanted to negotiate with Father Malin for the grain. What else could I do? No sooner had I arrived than they surrounded me and accused me of robbery.
We won't let anyone do anything to you, but if we are going to help you, you will have to tell us the truth.
The woman looks you in the face, then her head sinks, and when she looks back up, she has tears in her eyes.
Please, I just want to go back to my family. I don't know what happened.
Tungdil.
You feel sympathy towards the woman. You raise your hand to silence Rodario and nod to the woman to continue talking.
We asked for grain and were full of hope when we saw the well-filled granary. But we hadn't reckoned on the malice of the people here.
A slow, ironic clap sounds from behind you. Confused, you turn around to face Rodario.
Bravo, my dear, with tears and everything. Tough luck that a master of the art of acting is present. None of what she said corresponds with the truth, Tungdil. She is lying and trying to deceive us. Not completely talentless, for an amateur.
You expect the woman to deny everything, but when she overcomes her amazement, she spits in the actor's face.
And what if I am? I would do it all again. The people here have more than they need and my people are starving. Is that fair?
Spit it out. Where are the spoils and your people?
I'd rather die than tell you that.
The woman looks at you determinedly, and neither of you blink.
Why did you come back here after stealing the grain and supplies?
We didn't steal 'em. We paid for 'em. A reasonable price, just not to Father Malin.
You had help.
He promised us 3 dozen sacks of grain. When we opened the sacks in our hideout, we realised that most of the grain was rotten. He thought he'd get away with it.
The woman looks around wearily.
And by the looks of things, he has.
Morris the steward offered you the grain, didn't he?
What does that matter? I've no proof it was him. And even if I did, if I admit that we have the stuff, I'll be hanging from a tree by this evening and my children will starve. I beg you, let me go. We bought the grain and the supplies. Perhaps he wasn't allowed to sell it to us. But we paid. And with a little seed we can sow, at least some of us have a chance of surviving the year.
How can I trust you? You lied.
Who wouldn't do everything to offer their children a future? Lying is the very least.
I don't want you to be hanged just because you tried to support your family. Go.
You open the door. The guards jump up, take up their swords, and let their hands sink down again when they feel the axes of the dwarves against their throats. The woman lays a hand on your shoulder for a moment as a sign of gratitude before she runs from the guardhouse.
I hope you know what you're doing, scholar.
Rodario's furrowed brow does not give you the feeling you've made an undisputed decision.
Namora, find out where she's heading and then rejoin us.
Fergus wants to raise an objection, but before he can think of the right words, Namora has kissed him on the mouth and has disappeared round the next corner. You leave the guardhouse and explain your plan to Father Malin. You expect him to object, but he seems to be satisfied. You assume he'll make you responsible for everything if something goes wrong, and will claim a piece for himself if you are successful. Like every night in the wilderness, you set up camp and assign the watch. Bavragor takes first watch this evening, while the rest of you sit by a small fire, toasting some bread. You're not particularly surprised that neither Bavragor nor any of the others notice the guest who suddenly appears out of the darkness next to you.
Nomora!
Fergus jumps up, and moments later has embraced her tightly.
Were you able to find out anything?
She didn't detect me and led me straight to the hideout. I can show you. It's a cave some miles off from the path. Almost 4 people, men, women and children.
You nod. You have tracked down Tavia's hideout. You spend the night protected from the wind in a ruin, and are sitting around a campfire as the topic of your new companion's performance on the stage comes up.
Sleight of hand, speed, alchemy, and makeup can have an incredible effect. Nomora transformed herself into an elf using the latter.
I also noticed your weapons, Nomora. I've never seen such swords before.
Their names are Crescent and Sunbeam. I designed them myself. It took a long time until I found a smith who was able to make them.
She looks like a pointy ear too. Nature hasn't been kind to her.
For this absent-minded remark, Boindil receives evil looks from Nomora and grins from the men.
Perhaps I really am an elf, and will bring you a nightmare in your sleep tonight. Don't be surprised if you wake up screaming.
For a moment, it seems as though she has merged with the darkness, but when you blink, everything is back to normal.
By the gods, isn't she magnificent in her role?
There is no denying what Rodario says. A 2-story tavern sits on the corner of a crossroads. The snow around the building has been cleared away, and a warm light is coming from inside. The sign above the door reads, Minstrel Castle.
Minstrel Castle? That sounds promising.
The old building has nothing in common with a castle. It seems rather nondescript. A simple tavern for simple people.
Finally! Time for ale! My throat is completely parched.
As much as I hate agreeing with you, I too can hardly wait.
You enter the tavern with Bavragor and Boindil in front. On first impression, the interior is as inconspicuous as the outside. But when you take a closer look, you spot a couple of paintings of minstrels in front of a castle, a small stage that, judging by the dust, is only very rarely used, and a lute hanging on the wall behind the bar. There are not very many guests on the ground floor, perhaps a dozen, and most of them belong to a group of mercenaries who have retreated into the far corner. You sit at a table, and after a while you are brought the ale that Boindil has ordered. You go to the bar where the landlady is working and sit on a stool. The landlady, a stout, middle-aged woman with long hair tied in a ponytail, looks up briefly but says nothing.
Say, why is the tavern called Minstrel Castle? It doesn't look much like a castle.
Oh, you don't know the legend, dwarf.
One of the guests next to you at the bar takes up your question.
There was a castle here once. No one knows its name anymore, so everyone just calls it Minstrel Castle. Once upon a time a king lived in that castle. He had many subjects and an enchanting queen. But one day a young minstrel came along and sang of wonderful far-off lands, and the subjects began to complain about their own lives. So the king sent for the singer to hear for himself. He came and sang a wonderful love song, and the king began to be scared. He thought that the minstrel wanted to steal away his queen. Without flinching, he drew his sword and struck the boy down. His father heard of this. He was himself a singer, and so he went to the king and played a terrible song, a curse. The king was to vanish in silence, and no one was to remember his name.
And that's what happened. No one remembers the name of the king or his castle. Make of it what you will. The story's certainly well known enough in the area to give R in its name.
The group isn't overly friendly towards Geralda. and this evening she's sitting once again apart from the others. You ask yourself what you can do to break the ice when you see that she has a phial in her hand. The phial is wrapped around with silver wire and has a snap lock. The liquid in it is black. Giralda opens the lid and takes a big swig. As she puts down the bottle, a smile flits across her face, followed by a short expression of deep satisfaction. It is the first time that you have seen a positive emotion on the face of the sombre dwarf.
Is that medicine?
No, it's... I don't know either. If I don't drink it, I have a longing for it. It gets stronger and stronger until I can't stand it anymore. When I drink it, the longing disappears, and I feel rested and strong.
And when the phial's empty?
I don't know. I don't know where I got the drink from, let alone what it is. But if I don't drink it, Frackers, give me strength. I think I would go crazy or die.
Giralda plays with the phial, lost in her thoughts, as if she were trying to remember where she saw it for the first time. As on the previous evening, Bavragor sits apart from the others, but tonight he waves you over.
Smeralda, my sister. You want to know what happened, right?
You nod and sit down.
She followed Boindle into battle. We tried to talk her out of it, but she was as unyielding as a mountain. Then came the day when the High Pass was attacked.
Bavragor drinks from his liquor.
He killed her. Blinded by the frenzy of battle, he thought she was one of the enemy. I can never forgive him. He killed my sister. Could you?
You inevitably remember the loss of Lot Yonan, Frala, and her children. You remain sitting in silence, each of you deep in thought. Boendal approaches, having either heard you or guessing what you were talking about.
His fierce life forge is a curse. He thought the orcs had robbed him of his love, and the ire came over him. Sometimes he calls her name in his dreams. Oh, he'd never admit it, but he suffers just like Bavragor. He too loved her.
The stonemason doesn't react, so you and Boendal go back to the others by the fire.